everyone, and welcome once again to the vast and ominous comic book vault. It's time for new acquisitions. We are live right now. I'm Captain Logan.
I'm Alex, superhero enthusiast.
Alex, thanks again for joining me for a live show. We're back on my channel. Yay, got all that crazy copyright stuff worked out. Now we're back on the channel, on my channel, not the channel, you know, the channel. Everybody go subscribe to Superhero Enthusiast and support him because he's great. He does good content as well, and he also has a channel. Anyway, so this week we're going to talk about a number of books that just came out for you. We're going to talk about some DC, some Marvel, and I've got a smattering of other things, mostly IDW stuff. As always, I want to say thanks to Elite Comics in Overland Park, Kansas for helping us out with the show. If you're ever in the Kansas City area, check out Elite Comics. It's a fantabulous store, and while I'm thinking about that, I want to mention for folks in case I don't get to say this anywhere else on the channel this week. I will be gone all next week. I will be on a big road trip covering 2,000 miles across the Midwest, talking to comic book store owners in a film we're making called Midwest in Panels. We're going to be talking to 9 different comic book stores. In fact, we just did one last night. We did a local store just yesterday. Started the movie off already, and we're off to a good start. And anyway, so that's where I'm going to be next week. So we won't have much or any content at all. We may post a couple things on the trip. Just kind of travelogue stuff. Hey, this is us in Iowa. But that's about it. So anyway, just so folks know, that's what we're going to be doing next week, and that's going on, and that's kind of one of our big summer projects. So anyway, let's go ahead and jump straight into it. We're going to start with some Marvel things, and oh, I'm sorry. Before we do that, let me also mention that as always, at the end of the show, we're going to do an open forum, probably 15-20 minutes as always. If we can run through these pretty quick, we've got another show, Alex and I, after this to do with some other folks on X-Men: Days of Future Past. So we don't want to be here longer than an hour if we can help it. So we may have to cut the open forum short. It just depends on how long-winded we are with our books this week. But anyway, so be sure to stick around for the end, and you can ask us stuff. We'll be talking about anything superhero or comic book related there. As always, you can send questions anytime during the show to our Twitter. That's at Geekvolution on Twitter, and you can also send things to us as a personal message on YouTube. That's the YouTube channel, of course, Geekvolution. That's the channel, Alex. And anyway, so that's what's going on. Also, periodically throughout the show, I'm going to be giving away some digital comics. I'm going to be giving away a copy of Guardians of the Galaxy 15. I'm going to give away a copy of the Thanos Annual, and I'm also going to give away a copy of Moon Knight #3, all digital. And so pay attention, because at least one of those questions will be something that I will drop for you during my review of one of those books. And if you were paying attention, even if you didn't read it, you'll know the answer. Anyway, let's go ahead and get started. Alex, we're going to begin with some Marvel things, and we're starting with Uncanny Avengers #20. Now, you and I have never had a discussion about this book, so before we get rolling on this, I would like to know what your general feelings about this title have been, and then let's jump into this issue. Go ahead, Alex.
I think it's really, really interesting, at the very least just conceptually. I'm so curious with what's happened, how that's affecting the wider Marvel universe, and how any of this fits in, since I guess this happened in previous issues, so we can talk about it, but there's essentially like a rapture of the mutants, and they all got their planet, and Earth got destroyed, and obviously the rest of the Marvel books are continuing to be published, so it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. But I guess we'll figure out how it all fits at the end.
Yeah, it is one of those crazy things where one book is in the middle of a huge temporal messed up everything, and nothing else is being affected by it yet. The way, I don't know, the tone, Alex, of this thing is so important, like it's so serious that I will be very disappointed if we get to the end of this arc and it just all gets fixed in a nice bow, and this doesn't continue to complicate what's been going on with all of the crazy messing up the space-time continuum that we've been having with Marvel. I kind of feel like Remender is trying to add to that in some way and not just tell a gimmicky time travel story.
Yeah, because that was an issue that came up in, I think it was the Hulk book at one point, of they've done so much time traveling that time itself is somewhat broken. So maybe that will factor into this. I don't know. Obviously, Kang the Conqueror is in this, and there's some type of weird play thing at the end here involving him with them trying to fix things. But at the end of this, yeah, they're kind of confused about how things have gone.
Well, and keep in mind, of course, that it wasn't just the Hulk book. That all started with Age of Ultron.
Okay.
That's been. Did you read that?
No, I didn't.
Okay, that's where we started really making a big deal out of it. It was already being discussed a little bit in the X titles, and it's basically all of the time travel that's been happening lately in people going back in time and trying to fix things, or taking people from the past and bringing them to the future. There are consequences to everything, and the idea is that time is an object, and if you screw with it too much, it stops being what it was, and the rules begin to change. That's what brought Angela over into the Guardians of the Galaxy. The whole idea is that whatever messed up stuff with the space-time continuum that's been happening is like bringing people here that aren't supposed to be here. It's losing people in other dimensions. It's creating all these big crazy rifts. So doing something this extreme with Uncanny Avengers, as I said, it's going to be incredibly disappointing if there are not huge ramifications when we get to the end of this. As far as character stuff goes, I'm finding it pretty fascinating. I'm really liking what's being done with Magneto. I feel like he's kind of, in the place you would expect, but in a really good way, where he's like, well, no, guys, we don't need to help Kang go back in time and fix it. We don't have to work with this bad guy because we got what I wanted.
Yeah.
The Earth is gone, but who cares? The mutants won. That's all I ever wanted. And so I'm liking where everybody is in their ethical stances.
Yeah, I agree, and it's sort of neat to see, Cyclops interacting with the other X-Men in a way that's somewhat amiable now, given what's going on in the main X-Men titles. So that's kind of cool to see. And I loved in this issue how the Summers brothers got to kind of team up and sort of take on the bad guys here. That was sort of cool.
Yeah, I like that a lot too, and it's the sort of thing where it feels, I don't want to say cop-out-ish, because again, we don't know where this is all going to go, but it's a little bit of a letdown because it's one of those things where you get to see stuff happen that you've been wanting to see happen, but it's in an alternate timeline, so it's not really going to ultimately count at the end, you know what I mean? So it's like, yeah, okay, we get to see Havoc and Cyclops working together, but that they're going to wipe that away pretty quick, so like it doesn't matter, but it's not, it's a nice novelty there for a minute. It's really fun to get to see Cyclops going against Magneto again. That kind of thing.
It's been a while.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. It's fun to see like what if Magneto won, and then we'll have the chance to fix that. So I don't know. I'm really enjoying where this is. I'm liking that it's, and this is a weird thing to say with comics, I like that it's taking as long as it's taking. That we're really like spending some time with these characters because they don't feel like, sort of like to a lesser degree, to smaller scale, they sort of feel like the original X-Men brought into the present and then they're different characters. Like these guys don't feel like exactly the characters they are in the present day.
Mm-hmm. But obviously they've been through a lot too. And I'm loving the bizarre alternate universe or alternate timeline kind of character designs. Like Iron Man has these gigantic gears on his shoulders that just look so cool. It's nuts.
Yeah, and Doom has sort of the Doom 2099 thing going on.
It's groovy.
Sort of. That's kind of fun. So I don't know. And Sunfire's finally doing things again, which is nice.
Yeah.
But I'm still really super digging that book, and as I've said a bunch of times, boy, that's not where I thought Remender was going with this thing at all. Like,
no, because they just set it up as like, hey, Captain America finally clued into the fact that there's this entire group of people who he happens to know that is being discriminated against, and he's going to do something about that. And then they've gone in this weird direction where it's like it's flipped. The humans are now like the mutants on this new planet, and they're the ones being discriminated against. So. Kind of an interesting role reversal.
I do feel like we have an emphasis on X-Men over the Avengers in this book, and I feel like when it started, it was more of a half and half thing. It was about mutant issues, but the team was kind of half and half, and they're not even calling themselves that anymore in the future. It's Cyclops, kind of to me my X-Men. So. Yeah. What are we going to move on?
I love the Blueberry Wolverine line. I'll just say that.
I'm sorry. What was that?
What's his name? Dakin, Wolverine's son. Somebody calls him Blueberry Wolverine in this. I LOL'd.
That was hilarious. Okay, let's go ahead and move on. Alex, give us another Marvel book, will you?
I'm gonna go with Iron Patriot #3. My previous 2 reviews for this book I said, this is moving forward really, really quickly, and this continues that. And they kind of lampshade it in that the villain is like, oh no, I've defeated you way too early, James Rhodes. Uh, I've got to like fix this. And so he kidnaps him, and he gets a bit of a backstory, the villain does. And he's a former soldier. He used to work for Shield, and he basically just says none of that matters though. And we don't get a whole lot in this issue. It moves by really, really quickly. Obviously, last time Rhodey's family got kidnapped too, and his niece is able to escape. And that's more or less everything that happens in this issue. It was really, really quick. But I'm enjoying it. They've been playing with a kind of an interesting political angle, I guess, with some of it, because Rhodey said he's only going to protect the United States. And then simultaneously there were all these different terrorist attacks all over the United States, like the Capitol, I think got attacked, the Washington Monument, all these places all over the country, and monuments and stuff destroyed. So it's just kind of a big middle finger to him right off the bat, like as soon as he gives his press conference. So I'm kind of curious to see how it all ties in, but I feel like we're going to get there really, really quickly if it keeps going at this pace.
How long do you think that book is likely to last?
I've heard it's possibly already done, like canceled, because apparently it hasn't shown up in certain future solicits. So they haven't announced that it's been canceled or ended its run, but I'm okay with this short little story. But yeah, it's sort of, I didn't expect it to last very long, but I didn't expect it to go out this quickly either.
Yeah, I feel like Marvel maybe has a model going on right now where they don't solicit miniseries as much. They just start a series, and then if it's popular enough, they'll keep it going. And if not, they'll end it after one arc, and we can just pretend like it was a miniseries the whole time. Because a lot of the titles that keep being announced, I'm like, there's no way. There's 24 to 36 issues in that.
Mm-hmm.
Like Dupe and... like that, they keep announcing them, like Storm. Really, is that going to go 20 issues? Even Cyclops, being a major character, I'm not sure he's going to go any farther than the Starjammer stuff. Like,
yeah, this definitely feels like one of those books. So I guess we'll see. I think the last solicit that was mentioned was maybe 5 or 6. So.
All right, well, I will very briefly mention Iron Man number 26. I guess this is a double shipping book. I keep forgetting about that because I feel like I just reviewed Iron Man and said that I wasn't really qualified to review it, and now I'm reading this one, which makes me a little bit more qualified because I actually read the immediate preceding issue, but I'm still not real sure how I feel about this. I'm not in love. I'm still not in love with Kieran Gillen's voice for Malekith. I feel like he's not really on with the Asgardian stuff. Some of the language is kind of hit and miss, where it's like, okay, he had Malekith say that because it sort of kind of sounds Asgardian, but or not Asgardian, but it sort of kind of sounds old worldy, but it's not as natural as when Jason Aaron does it, that kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like, it feels like a guy playing at somebody else's sandbox, trying really hard, but not quite getting there. And I mean, like I'm not dogging him for doing this story because that's the only reason I'm reading it. I really love the idea of seeing Malekith trying to get at the rings, but again, I wanted to see, and I guess this is just this isn't what I wanted kind of thing. But I guess what I expected was Malekith is like this really menacing, manipulative force, like he always is, going after the rings, and we get to see him just be like a really scary, almost Thanos level kind of force, and that's actually not what we have, and maybe that's part of the appeal of it, is that it subverts expectations. But I just feel like Malekith isn't as smart as I'm used to him being, and by the end of this issue, and this arc isn't done, by the end of this issue, I kind of found myself a lot less interested in the Malekith thing and a lot more interested in just the rings in general. The way that Gillen is playing with them. The rings have an artificial intelligence, and each of them has their own personality and their own kind of things they want. And like seeing that, I think, is actually ultimately kind of more interesting. We get a bunch of supervillains that had rings at the end last issue that decided to be proactive and go after Malekith before he had a chance to go after them. And so there's this huge slugfest where, well, it's more of a beatdown, really, where Malekith at first is made to think that he's defeated them, and then there are several different ones, and like one of them is Mole Man, and there's some other people, and I guess one of them manages to use some kind of spell that makes him think that he's won or that he's winning, but he's actually getting the crap beat out of him the entire time. and just like the mental image in my head of, because we see Malekith in what he thinks is actually happening, and then all of a sudden he's being beat within an inch of his life, and I thought that was kind of funny. But again, I don't know that I wanted to see Malekith like that, you know? I'm used to Malekith kind of getting the upper hand, so I don't know. I'm not saying that he had to write it the way I would want it written. I'm just saying that I'm not sure that I bought that Malekith would be so easily, I don't know, victimized isn't the right word, but you know what I mean. I don't know. It's not bad, but it's not as much fun as I was hoping it would be. And again, there's stuff I'm latching onto, but weirdly, it's not the Malekith stuff. So I don't know. I'll finish the arc out. What other Marvel stuff do you have? Oh, I'm sorry. You were going to say something.
No, that's fine. My next book was Miss Marvel #4, and this continues to be awesome. And Kamala Khan, I guess at the end of last issue, tried to stop a robbery of the boy who has a crush on her at school, of the place that he works, and it turns out that it's actually his little brother who was robbing the store because he's involved in some gang stuff. And she got shot, and it turns out she learns in this that her powers allow her to heal. So that's cool, and she reveals to the boy who has a crush on her like who she actually is, and they kind of put together a rough costume, and then she goes out superheroing at the end. And it's just, this continues to be so well written and so much fun, and it feels classic Marvel, but still really modern at the same time. I'm just loving this book.
I'm gonna have to go back to that and trade. I keep hearing nothing but cool things about it. So do we have a good sense of her overall power set now, or is she continuing to learn more about it as it continues?
I think we're getting a sense now. We certainly didn't know about the healing thing, but she can change her appearance and change her density and her size and stuff like that. This seemed to be, and she already knew that. It was just more of an issue of her trying to get control over it. But this was something definitely new that she learned in this issue. But it's really, really cool in that her mother tried to get her to wear like a burkini to the beach or something, I think in a previous issue, which is like a very, very covered up swimsuit that a lot of Muslim women wear. And she uses that as the basis for her costume, which is kind of cool.
Oh, cool. That makes sense. Yeah. Yeah, it's neat to see writers use that kind of cultural stuff in clever ways and build on it instead of just making the hey, look at me, I'm doing a different culture that isn't usually represented, but actually do something with it. That's awesome.
Yeah, and I think this is really the key to the whole diversity issue in comics, and that is we have a female Muslim writer writing a female Muslim character.
Yeah.
And we need, if we're going to get more diverse characters, we need to bring in more diverse writers who have those voices.
Yeah, because the thing there is, it's probably not a writer saying, I mean, I don't know, but it's probably not a writer saying, you know what, there is not enough of this particular thing in comics. It's writing what you know. It's her, and so like that's how you want to see things that you've never seen before get pulled into really any medium, is because it makes it authentic and it doesn't feel like a gimmick, So. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, because you or I probably wouldn't think to write a Muslim female character, not because we're all like everyone must be just like us. It's because I wouldn't know where to start. You know what I mean? I would have to do so much research to make it right that it wouldn't immediately occur to me to do that. So yeah, that's where good diverse ideas come from, is diverse people doing stuff. So I guess what we're saying is not all comic book writers should be 40-year-old white guys. I guess that's what we're getting at.
Yeah, go figure. Kamala Khan is a really, really great character, though. Like, she's a super nerd. She writes Avengers fanfic on the internet.
Really? That's awesome.
She's like, that's why I like her so much. Is I can relate. She's just like all of us who read comics to some degree.
Fun.
Mm-hmm.
My next book, Alex, is I feel like Alex needs some kind of sign. That's some kind of like Wile E. Coyote sign. Okay, I'm done now.
Yeah.
My next book is Giant-Sized X-Men #1. This is an oversized $5 comic written by, let me get the credits here, Joe Caramagna. The whole thing written by Joe Caramagna with a bunch of different artists. Let's see here. With Tim Seeley and let's see, Scott Koblish and lots of different writers. Lots of drawers. So anyway,
pencilers.
People that pick up a pencil and they make the lines make it look like people. So what? So this is your standard kind of oversized popular character kind of book with several different stories in it. But interestingly, it continues kind of a thread through it. So there's like 4 sort of mini stories, but there's a progression of them, which is kind of unusual. But it's basically the origin and then the origin of some villains. And that's kind of what it is. And I feel like I've kind of obviously been here and done this numerous times. I'm not sure why this was necessary. I'm not sure why, now that Peter Parker's back, we got to keep writing his origin over and over again. But that doesn't mean it's bad. This is one of those things where I would recommend this to people that I'm not sure exist. I would hand this to people that don't know anything about Spider-Man, and I would hand this to people that maybe have seen movies, but are not real familiar with what like early Spider-Man is like in the comics. So people that maybe wouldn't know about the wrestling thing and that sort of thing. The origin here is handled slightly different. It's one of those things where there's a couple little twists, but it's pretty much what you've seen before. And then and then it gives you kind of an origin for, or if not an origin, at least like the first time Spider-Man fights certain characters. So you got Vulture, and you got Doc Ock, and you got Sandman at the end. And the art is really hit and miss. There's one place in particular, and I'm not right away going to be able to figure out which of these artists it is, but the second story has this really weird art. It's kind of cartoony. It's sort of almost, in places I would call it almost amorphous, and the faces are just strange. They're like, there's weird lines in random places on people's faces, and there's a place in particular where Robbie Robertson has like this like almost box in his face, and I don't know why. I was gonna try to find that. I'll look for it if I can. That was just weird. But anyway, I don't know. Like his voice for Peter is fine. It feels very. I guess part of the reason that this is weird is because I just had that early, just after the origin thing from Slott that I actually really, really liked, and I felt like kind of added something. And this is sort of just a retread thing, and I don't really know why it's here. I would give it to kids. I will say that it's a thing kids could read, and it feels all ages. It's not made that way, but it sure, I mean, it's not, solicited that way, but it sure feels that way. But I don't know, it feels like very old school Spider-Man. That's kind of where it's going. It doesn't have, it's kind of out of time. It doesn't have really a modern kind of tone. Peter Parker is taking pictures of Spider-Man, and he's using an old school camera. It doesn't even look digital to me. So he's kind of going back to the 60s, and then every single story has to say, with great power comes great responsibility, at least once. And it's just kind of like, okay, yes, we get it. Most of the people reading this will have heard this before, and it's, I don't know who this is for. It's a very, very strange kind of one-shot. Having said that, there's a few full-page spreads that are just fantastic. So, it's got, if you really like, Spider-Man art, you don't mind looking at some not so great Spider-Man art. There's some pretty fun stuff to look at here. There's a couple of really great Doc Ock panels and stuff. But ultimately, I don't know. I'd give this a pass if you're a big Spider-Man fan that doesn't have to own everything. I'd probably give this a pass. If you're like 9 and you don't know much about Spider-Man, this is for you.
So does that erase the Season 1 Spider-Man book?
I don't think so. I didn't read season 1 Spider-Man. I read the X-Men one, but I didn't read that one. So
Okay, because those were brought in to sort of update the origins for all those characters, but I didn't know if it's retreading that. Is it kind of paving over it or not?
That one did it because the X-Men one didn't pave over anything. It was like all of the relationship, like soap opera stuff in between the major things that happened. So like it erased nothing. It was like just in between things. So I don't know how the other ones did it.
I remember the Daredevil one was basically just like a less well done version of like Daredevil Yellow.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's kind of same idea.
Read Daredevil Yellow. That's there. It's awesome.
That's my recommendation.
Me too. My recommendation with this is read the, actual origin, read the Stanley Ditko stuff. I don't know. I do think it's funny that Peter Parker in this has a teacher named Ditko. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I guess it's a reference.
Yeah, it's a reference. All right, what else have you got?
Was that it for Marvel for you?
I've got quite a few more Marvel things. I guess I can really quickly.
Yeah, go for it.
Is that cool? I meant to mention this earlier. Alex just didn't read as many books as I did this week, and that's liable to happen. I usually have somewhere between 12 and 13. So I will do this very briefly. Some of these very briefly. Guardians of the Galaxy Prelude #2. Here's how brief I'm going to be about this. So it's a really, really generic Groot and Rocket Raccoon story. They battle things, and that's what happens. Yeah, it's, I guess these are just kind of trying to cash on the movie, and they don't feel like a different continuity at all, which makes me think that Guardians in the movie is likely to feel like very current Guardians, because the two of these I've read just feel like current Guardians books, really. They're not any different at all. I don't know, there's some fun, witty stuff in here and there, but ultimately I was kind of I'm lukewarm on it. I was just kind of bored with it. I kind of feel like I've been here and done this 100 times. Somebody needs to start writing more, like, I'm curious to see what the Rocket Monthly is going to be like, because, or if that's monthly, because every time I see a solo Rocket story, I can never get into it. They all seem really generic. Like, he just goes out in space and he's trying to find something, and some alien race is shooting at him, and then he throws out some witty banter, and then he either gets the thing he was trying to get or not, and he's sort of anti-heroish, but like has a heart of gold. Like, it's always the same story. So that's what this is, pretty much.
Who's writing the Rocket solo?
Oh, I don't know. I forget. I'd have to look that up.
I know Scotty Young is doing the art, at least, and he's really good. So
yeah, I mean, that's the only reason I'm even remotely excited about it. I mean, not to say that I don't like Rocket. I'm just saying that solo Rocket, I'm not that there's a lot of it. I'm just saying that whenever he goes off by himself, it's like, okay, it's a raccoon, and that's sort of novel, This is Abnett and Lanning, and I usually like them with stuff, but, well, they're hit and miss, but, anyway, so, I don't know. And I guess, wasn't it Abnett and Lanning that had the big Guardians book that people really liked in the mid-2000s, or was that somebody else?
I'm not sure.
I don't remember. Well, anyway, so obviously I don't know, but anyway, like does this really give us very much setting up the movie or whatever? It doesn't seem like it, honestly. But I guess, if I watch the movie and then something from this pops up and I go, hey, that was in that thing, I'm sure you're not missing anything if you don't have that. Next is Moon Knight #3, which is still awesome. This is a super fast read. I mean, like, you can whip through this in about 5 minutes, but take longer. Spend a little more time looking at the panels. This is a very visual storytelling kind of thing. There's not very much dialogue at all. It is nice and creepy and really surreal. Well, not surreal's not the right word, but unusual. So you've got Moon Knight having to figure out how he's going to fight ghosts. There are these ghosts that are trying to that can hit Moon Knight, but he can't hit them.
They're punk rock ghosts too.
They are. Yes, indeed they are. Yes, thanks for mentioning that. And they come from. He acts like it's this really antiquated time too. He's like, they're these old school gangbangers that just exist to hit things, and it's very very funny, but it's also, like I said, kind of creepy, and it's not, and it's very simple. And basically, he has to come up with some kind of way with like ancient artifacts in order to to use the power of ancient artifacts to fight these ghosts. And he comes up with this is what he looks like, and it's crazy. Anyway, I don't want to say anything else about it because I can't talk about it without really spoiling everything, because it's very simple, there's not much to it, but I still am loving what Ellis is doing with this book. And Shalvey's artwork is just really, really pretty, and I love the way the colors work on this book. It's sort of black and whitish, but then colors really pop when you want some actual color. So like anytime somebody bleeds, it feels that much more gruesome, and it's great for that. So I don't know, it's still a really fun book. But like I said, it's one of those things where you have to pace yourself in a comic book. It's very easy to finish this and go, wait, what happened? I don't feel like I got my $3 worth. Like really spend some time with it, because if this was a movie, you'd be establishing a lot of things and sitting there on a panel for a little while. So like take your time with it. But anyway,
I like how all these Moon Knight books are like more or less one and dones too.
Yes. Me too, and that's clearly that Hawkeye model.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm liking that too. I mean, after a while, I kind of would like to see maybe an arc, just because I want some character building for this guy. But at the same time, it's kind of fun to see him as kind of short films.
Yeah, I like it. It's very Batman the Animated Series in that way.
That's a really good call. Yeah, did you read this issue?
Oh yeah, it came out weeks ago.
Oh, it did?
Yeah.
I missed it. Oh, geez. Okay, weird, because I didn't know.
Like Ghosts, I remember that.
All right. Well, because I was just like, why are you reviewing this with me? I didn't think you read it. Okay, well, I didn't realize this came out already. But I just got it today. All right. Well, it's like NBC told us in the late '90s. If you haven't seen it, it's new to you. It's new to you. All right. Next up, Guardians of the Galaxy number 15. I haven't said this in a while about this book. I really, really loved this issue. We've got Star-Lord's dad playing hardball with him and trying to force him to take his Star-Lord mantle and work for him again, instead of running around with this band of riffraffs and messing with all of his evil plans. And so at the end of last issue, things got really bleak, and they got kind of sideswiped by the Shi'ar. And where we're at right now is most of the group has gotten picked off by a different entity, and most of it is his father's fault. So it's kind of fun to see the parallels of where everybody's being imprisoned and what's happening to them. So like at the beginning, we have Rocket Raccoon, and he's being experimented on by the Kree Empire, which is like really creepy, and they're trying to figure out his anatomy and stuff. And he wakes up, and they're like, oh man, the anesthetics didn't work. And then like the creepy guy leading them is like no, that's okay, it'll be more interesting this way. I'm like, oh man. And then you've got the Badoon cornering Gamora, and each of these, by the way, is like they're after different things, and they say that whoever they have captured is now property of the whatever empire, and like everybody keeps saying that. And so it's I don't know, I think it's kind of neat, these horrible situations they're all in. We're waiting to see how they're going to get out. And so the Badoon are trying to find Thanos, and so they've got Gamora, and they're like, where is Thanos? Surely you're his daughter. And then the Shi'ar themselves have Drax, and they don't actually say that he's property. They just say that he's imprisoned. But not the other one. And then Venom gets captured, but doesn't even realize that that's happening at first. And I don't want to give that away. That's a really cool scene. But anyway, yeah, I really enjoyed this one, just to see kind of these horrible places everybody's in, and then at the end, Star-Lord's like, okay, fine, I'll do what I have to do, and then it's kind of too late for him, so he does something like really desperate right at the end. It's a really good cliffhanger. I don't know. I felt lately like this book, it's finally starting to find its stride again over the last couple issues, because before that it was too wrapped up in events and things. And now it feels like the pace of the actual story is picking up again, and it's not just like wasting time with events and things. So I don't know. I really like that. My one complaint is Captain Marvel is not in this issue.
That was my question.
I
don't. That's weird.
The cliffhanger at the last episode was suddenly there's Captain Marvel, and then and now Captain Marvel, and I said, where? Like, I was flipping through this after I read it, and I went, I don't see her. Like, there are evil aliens that pretend to be other people with Venom, and she's not even one of the people that somebody pretends to be. Like, she's just not in the issue. Somebody help me out. I don't understand that cover.
Well, the Guardians were in the Captain Marvel book last issue, the last 2 issues, but
yeah,
this
and like
doesn't
I said,
sound like it connects in really.
Well, and like I said, she popped in last issue. So that must have set up the stuff with her and the. I guess I should read those then, because it sounds like maybe there's more Guardians things going on that would inform this, because that doesn't happen in this issue. Yeah, that's weird.
Maybe they're just miscovering books now.
Yeah, maybe that was supposed to be the cover for 16, because it's like, what, is she supposed to come in and save the day? Because the day is not saved yet. We're like, that's the whole point, is that we're waiting for that to happen. I don't know. That's really strange. But I don't know. There's some I don't know. There's some really great kind of actions have consequences vibes, and like the kind of the kind of sacrifices that you have to make for your friends and that kind of stuff. I don't know. It's quite good. And the last Marvel book I had was the Thanos Annual by the powerhouse team of Starlin and Lim. Yeah, this is awesome. So we have basically a story, and I say story in air quotes because it's not really, but I'll talk about that in a second. This is right in, well, it's kind of before and during and after Infinity Gauntlet, all at the same time, but it's very, it's all mixed into that stuff. So if you like old 70s Thanos, and then you like Infinity Gauntlet from later, and you like this stuff. If you've been reading anything with Thanos currently, and you never read that stuff, then you'll be completely and utterly lost for this. This is Starlin Thanos, and he hasn't lost it at all. Like, he's writing exactly like he used to write. Like some people might think that that's kind of a problem, where it's pick up and get with the times, but Starlin's Thanos is a little bit different from, say, Jason Aaron's Thanos, and a little bit more fun. And so I like Jason Aaron's Thanos, but I also like my Thanos to be sometimes more full of himself and to be really the Mad Titan. Like he's supposed to be psychotic, but then have this kind of logic about why he deserves to do the things that he does, and he has this whole kind of it's my nature and I can't help it motif. And that's what I really like about Thanos. He can justify it by, it's just the way I am. Sorry, you're dead, but it's just the way I get. Sorry. And I think that's the thing that's fun about Thanos, and just how incredibly obsessed with himself he is. I really enjoy characters like that. So this is, I say story in air quotes because it's kind of just catching you up sort of to speed with some of the stuff in case you've forgotten about it, because Thanos' history is really muddled and convoluted and complicated, and there's just lots of it, and so this kind of takes you through some of that through kind of the lens of a situation. And that situation is, there is this avatar of Thanos, this kind of translucent avatar of Thanos from the Infinity Gauntlet days when he had the time gem, and so Thanos sends back this avatar to an earlier version of Thanos that has failed to get the cosmic cube and thinks his life is over, and is really depressed about how much of a failure he is. And he goes to Mephisto's hell, and Mephisto is like, well, you're not done yet. I'm gonna send you on some missions or something. And he's like, no, I'm a failure. And then Mephisto uses his power and looks at what he's been doing lately and is like, you know what, you're right, you're a failure. And so you're gonna have to go ahead and be dead and stay here in hell with me forever. Ha 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 ha. And then this avatar shows up and is like, like, no, Thanos, you have more things to do, and I'm going to tell you about your whole history from now forward. And that's pretty much what you have to read. I enjoyed it though because the art's so good, and it's colorful, and it's silly, but you know, it's it's dark and creepy, but in that kind of 1975 kind of way. And anyway, I really enjoyed this, but it's not a great read by itself. You have to kind of know some stuff already, I think. And also, it's kind of here mostly to set up the big graphic novel that Starlin and Lim are doing. I think Lim's doing that, which is called Thanos: The Infinity Revelation, which goes on sale in August, and I will definitely be buying that and reviewing it because I love me some old school Thanos. So I really enjoyed this. It's not great as its own read, but I don't know. If you love Starlin Thanos, it's more of the same. I mean, that's pretty much what it is. But I really enjoyed it. And the situation is preposterous and hilarious, and I just love Thanos talking to Thanos. Thanos talking to Thanos. That's what that is. Well, let's go on to some DC things now, and I'm going to let Alex talk a little bit before I jump in and talk with him about Batman number 31. We're in the final act of Zero Year, only 2 issues left of this. And Alex, what'd you think?
I enjoyed it, but I don't know how much.
Okay.
My problem with Snyder often is he's not very good at endings. And we're getting into the last leg of the story, and I just feel like this whole 0 year thing is sort of a weird thing to do at the start of Batman's career, because it's like he hasn't really established too much who Batman is and what the significance of him as a symbol is to the city. That said, there's so much great stuff in here. Like he fights lions, he drinks gasoline from a car, and then like breathes fire at one lion. And like, it's nuts. It's crazy. It's
and then gets through with that. And then gets through with that and goes up to Riddler on his big jumbotron and says, "Is that all you got?"
I really get what Snyder's saying when he says his version of Bruce Wayne is a little bit more punk rock. He's a very, very kind of angry middle finger kind of a guy, and I like that. It's fun. And the way that works with just the color scheme of this book too, being very, very bright and lots of pinks and stuff. Like normally Gotham has a red sky, but here it's hot pink. You just don't expect to see that. So I'm enjoying it, but it's weird. It feels out of place, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
That's totally fair. What I'm liking about it, though, is that it's all about problem solving. I like that Bruce Wayne is not really the detective yet, and this is kind of what's getting him there. Like, I don't feel like he's great at this kind of stuff yet, and it's the thing that he's immediately first having to deal with. So, like, the first major thing that he goes up against is the Riddler, is like somebody who fights him with his brain and not his brawn, and I would assume that that's what leads him most to getting great at the mental stuff. I like the backstory that we get that it keeps intruding onto the story of him in a classroom, not wanting to have to answer a question, and then at first I kind of got what that was doing thematically. I thought, because I was like, okay, Bruce isn't really a thinker yet, and then you get to the end of it and it actually deals directly with the story, and we find out how, and that was really fascinating. But yeah, I don't know, I feel like maybe part of the point of it is that we don't know what the symbol of Batman is yet, because I think Bruce is still finding himself in certain kinds of ways, and so I'm sort of enjoying exploring the intellectual side of Batman, and not actually he has to outsmart the Riddler in a different sort of way than I think he would 5 years from here, and that's what I'm liking.
And that's totally fair. I'm just more, I think, speaking about how kind of the situation of 0 year is basically, it's like No Man's Land, but in year one, which is just kind of weird.
I completely agree with that. Do you feel like there's kind of this vibe of this is the biggest, most extreme, crazy thing that will ever happen? Like, I feel like topping this is hard, I'm not even sure. because the problem is I'm seeing a progression of a writer. If Snyder had started with this story, then I could be like, holy crap, where's he gonna go from here? But like I've already seen Death of the Family, and I've seen Black Mirror, and I've seen things that are, and I've seen Talons, and I feel like this story is almost as big as those, and it feels almost too big to be the starting place. That's been my complaint about it the whole way through, and yet it's really good. Like it's a fantastic situation.
Mm-hmm.
It's just chronology. It makes the whole chronology feel kind of funky weird, and yet at the same time, I guess I'm back and forth on it, because then at the same time, it's like it wouldn't make sense for such a huge situation like this to be the thing that gets like Gordon behind him and stuff like that. If you had to.
Yeah.
If you solve a huge problem. We had a huge problem in Begins, so I'm like this on it.
Yeah, I feel too like he's doing everything he can, especially as someone who loves Year One, according to him, to make this not Year One. And I kind of feel like to some extent Year One is more like the origin for noir detective Batman, and this is more the origin for straight up superhero Batman. So maybe it makes sense to kind of go in that big kind of scale with this.
Yeah, and he's on a motorcycle, so he's got the kind of 80s action hero thing going on, and he's really theatrical because he can't just build a motorcycle, Alex. He's got to have a bat on the front of it. Like even
of course, it's branding.
It's great. Yeah, he's so into branding. It's hilarious. Oh, I love it. I love that the quirky stuff is not gone as serious as this stuff is. It's very Morrison in that way, except not Crazy Town.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. It's a lot of fun. It's just kind of weird, and maybe part of that too is just because we're so used to Year One and Batman being a certain way, and they're creating this different kind of Batman. Finally, now in the New 52.
Yeah, I agree with you. I feel like, again, I think I'd be liking some of this stuff, and I love it, but I think that I would like it even more if we'd started with it. And maybe that's the big lesson to learn from 52 is if you're going to so dramatically reboot a whole franchise, maybe starting from the beginning and going linear is not a bad idea. Maybe we don't have to do the gimmicky comic book thing of always jumping around time. Maybe you could throw readers a bone and be linear for once. That's what I'm getting from this.
Yeah. Sometimes the obvious approach is obvious for a reason.
Yeah, exactly. Batman Eternal number 8. Are you starting to dig this series a little bit more? I enjoyed this issue.
I feel like you could have read 1 to 3, skipped 4, 5, 6, and then picked up again with number 7, and then kept reading. Because this was pretty good. Because we're actually back to the story that this book is supposed to be about, and that's the big gang war in Gotham City and Carmine Falcone trying to take out Batman and him. He's completely like gotten rid of Gordon, and so Batman doesn't have an ally with the police force, so he's kind of on shaky footing. I guess Jason Bard is going to be sort of Gordon in that respect in this story, because there's a bit where Batman goes to the cops, or they actually light the bat signal, and then he comes there, and they're like, "We're not going to work with you anymore," and then they try and shoot him, and he throws gas pellets and tries to escape, and Jason Bard trains his gun on him, and then Batman kind of like just gives him the eye, and then he smiles, and Batman disappears. So it's clear that he's at least willing to work with him. But that's kind of where we are in this, is the actually good stuff of how this larger thing of Falcone coming back is affecting the city at large.
Yeah, and I like that it starts off in a somewhat subtle sort of place where Batman doesn't realize that the police aren't on his side anymore. He just expects that if he drops off a bunch of bad guys, they'll pick them up, and they're ignoring everything he's doing because that's the MO now. That's what the new commissioner is forcing them to do. And then on the flip side, anything that the real bad guys are doing is also being ignored. And so Batman didn't know about this, and then suddenly he's being fired on. When you were talking about Bard, I think that they're making him the new Gordon, or at least for the story, in a visual way too. There are a couple panels where he's got Gordon glasses, right? Like they'll shoot him from the back, and he looks like a young Gordon. I think they're doing that on purpose. I like that. The only complaint I have about this issue, I really enjoyed it. It's given me a newfound reason to be excited to keep reading this book. Where it's been kind of, before it was kind of, I think I'm sort of liking this, but it's a little bit inconsistent in the writing. I don't know. I'm hoping. But writing inconsistency is still my biggest issue with this. I feel like there's some kind of there's some kind of clunky writing here and there where just some unnatural lines of dialogue. I felt like it needed another pass through script wise. And it's John Layman. He sometimes has that. He's a little bit inconsistent. He's not always that way, but he was here. And there's just a few places where I'm like, I don't know that anybody would say it like that, or that it made sense for this particular character to word things the way that they worded it. It felt a little bit, I don't know, juvenile's too harsh, but there's just some word choice issues, is what I'm saying. That's my only complaint, though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I thought the art was pretty good in this one, too. And, I mean, obviously the book has been all over the place in terms of artists as well. But yeah, I thought it was good here.
Yeah, the fight on top of police headquarters was fantastic.
Yeah, Batman versus SWAT teams is possibly like in my top 5 motifs for Batman things, so I was really happy to see that here.
I have that myself. Okay, real quick, I'm going to talk about Futures End number 4, which I don't want to keep reviewing. I don't know if I'm going to, because I'm just not liking it very much, and so, I don't want to keep saying the same things every time, but I will, because I don't know what else to say about this. No, I'm kidding. So I have the thing where I'm having to read about characters I really don't care that much about in order to read what I think is a really interesting idea of bringing Batman Beyond into sort of mainstream continuity, except it's 5 years in the future, so I don't know what's going to stick. It's got that awkwardness. Anyway, there are several different subplots running simultaneously, and I'm just not grabbing onto any of them, really. I like Frankenstein as a character, but the problem is I didn't read much of his books, so he's just in a status quo that I'm not familiar with. And agent like Shade is trying to bring him back into their agency, and he thinks they're too morally ambiguous and doesn't want to work with them. But then there's someone that he cares about, is their life is at stake, and so he finally agrees to do it. I don't know why they waited till the last possible second to tell him that information, except for dramatic effect. You read 6 pages in, they're like, oh, and by the way, you have a personal stake in this. I don't know. Wouldn't you lead with that? And then the second bit, so far, it's feeling kind of like reading different stories. I'm sure they will converge, of course. But right now, I just have to keep switching gears, and the characters I don't really care about. We see the future Tim Drake in this, though, and we don't know he's Tim Drake until we find out that he's Tim Drake. And that's sort of kind of interesting. He's going under an alias. And then there's some more grifter stuff. I don't know. Like I said, I don't have a whole lot to say. I'm just not latching on to very much yet, because I think part of the problem is, again, it's this future status quo, and it's not part of current, and so I don't know. I guess with Tim Drake, you're maybe finally throwing me a character that I would care more about, because he's like he's a main character that didn't have a book that got canceled. But I don't know. Otherwise, until that starts really rolling, I'm just sort of I feel like I'm reading 4 books that I wouldn't have picked up otherwise. And yeah, I don't know. Like I said, this 5-year in the future status quo thing. I guess what I'm getting at is, why am I supposed to care yet? I keep jumping on all these characters. Why do I care yet? What's the point? I know we're in the future, so I don't know. Give me more Terra McGinnis, because give me somebody to look at this through. So anyway, I don't know. I'm not liking it yet. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes, Alex. Alex, what else do you have to bring us, sir?
On the note of Terry McGinnis, I'll bring you Batman Beyond 2.0 number 21, and this one continues on in the Justice Lord's universe. Again, this one is mostly just a big fight. The guy who showed up at the end of last issue was Justice Lord Superman, and he looks like Superman, but just his face somehow, it always has this evil sneer on it, and you can just tell ooh, he's evil. The collar, I think, has something to do with it too, which is why I hate the New 52 costume, because if you look at all of the evil versions of Superman, what do they have in common? They have that high collar. That's just how you signify them.
Before that, oh man,
Yeah, it's the whole Nazi Soviet thing. Colors make you look evil, I guess. But they fight in this. Terry shows that he's actually evolved somewhat and strategizing in how he takes on Superman. And he actually loses in this. And I'm going to sort of spoil the end of this because I think it's going to be undone later. But he's not able to defeat Superman, and Superman I guess heat visions him right through the brain and kills him. So I'm assuming this is going to be undone somehow because it's comics. That's how it always happens. But yeah, it was sort of surprising. I didn't expect it to go that way.
Wow.
I'll hold up my "okay, I'm done now" sign.
Okay, so I'm going to try to review these books a lot faster because that was really fast. Good job. Okay, so Star Trek number 33. It was sort of okay. Okay, so no.
It's 20 years. What's that
so
about?
I pick up an issue of Star Trek that's, of course, the current movie sort of stuff, redoing TOS things, but they're not doing as many just straight up redoing of episodes again, or as they were before. Let me try using words that fit in the sentences that I make it. And I look at the bottom of it, and it says Lost Apollo. And you know what I'm expecting? I'm expecting Humorns for Adonais, right? Like, I'm expecting TOS Apollo. It's not that. I was very surprised. It's the crew of the Enterprise happens upon the wreckage of an old 20th century NASA spacecraft thing.
That Apollo.
That Apollo. Okay. So, but what's really weird is you open this up and it gives you a flashback from the 70s, and there's a astronaut, but you don't know he's an astronaut yet, who goes to his wife and is like, "Hey, they want me for Apollo," and I was like, "Is this guy gonna play like Apollo in a movie or something?" And then it turns out, yeah, like I feel like at the beginning of this, for anybody that's a big TOS fan, they are trying to make me think they're doing more than Adonais. And I feel like the only cool thing about this, except some landscape stuff, is I thought it was Adonais, but it's not. But the problem, of course, is that we've done this story, like the we find an Apollo spacecraft. That was done at least twice in Voyager. That's what motion picture was like. Okay, so we're doing that story again, and this is just not that interesting. It turns more into, at least in this first part, and it's a two-part story, so I'm not expecting a lot from it. But like you get, just because usually when these are two parts, they don't do much with them. They need to be 3-4 issues before they really do stuff. And anyway, so it becomes more of a we're messing with Prime Directive story, where like they bring Sulu along with them, and he drops a tricorder, and they have to go back and get it, and like it's that kind of story. So like so we're taking a Voyager episode and mixing it with an Enterprise episode, and making you think
those are the two things you want to combine together.
And makes you think it might be Humorous for Adonais, but it isn't actually. Okay, it's weird. But real quick, there's a couple of silly things I wanted to mention. One is the only reason Sulu drops his tricorder on the planet, or communicator, whatever it is, on the planet, there's an Enterprise episode called The Communicator. That's what it's about. Reed drops a communicator on the planet, and they're afraid of ruining the planet. And so anyway, the only reason that happens is because he insists on being on the away team, and he wasn't originally supposed to be on the away team, and then Kirk's like, well, I guess we have room for one more. So they contrive this stupid reason for him to drop a communicator, and it's really kind of irritating. And then the other thing that's really strange is they're in a place that looks like a really, really alien tropical rainforest, which looks really awesome, but then Kirk has to utter the stupid line, "It smells just like Iowa," which made me say, how in the world does that place smell like Iowa? I've been to Iowa. It does not have trees. This place has lots of trees, and it's very tropical looking. Tropical versus Iowa. I don't understand. It smells like Iowa. Okay, Kirk. At the very least, it seems like something he would say in one of those movies. So, yeah, okay, anyway. But I thought that was very strange. It's not bad. Like I said, the art's cool. The landscapes are neat. But I'm bored at the moment. Anyway, X-Files Season 10, number 12. I'm not bored with this. This is pretty great. We're doing more. We're in a story that started out looking like it was going to be a standalone kind of just kind of scary tale sort of story, and turns into being a mythology story, and those are neat. You know, where I think it's one thing, and then suddenly it turns out it's mythology. Suddenly Krychek is back. Well, Krychek is dead, so that shouldn't be possible. And Mulder says as much, and they're trying to figure out how in the world that is possible. And things that have been building before this in season 10 or whatever. Season 10 is building up toward this, so Smoking Man and things, and really making it more about the alien abductions and stuff. One thing that is and by the way, all the Middle Eastern culture stuff that I was talking about from last issue continues to be interesting in how Scully is trying to deal with all of these things while being kind of persecuted in this culture that does that to women. And the only thing that I thought was a little bit strange about this issue is because of the way the art is done, and it's really good for, and I've been saying this a lot about the series, I like the kind of sketchy artwork for this kind of atmosphere. But there's one place that I think is supposed to be a big character reveal. And because of the artwork, I'm not sure if it's who I think it is. They give you 3 panels, and it's like, this guy, is it this guy? It's this guy! And then I'm like, okay, is it that guy? Like I think it's Agent Duggan, but I'm not sure it's Duggan. So I guess I'll find out next issue. There's no dialogue around it. It's just, it's this guy. He's looking at me very dramatically, and so I'm assuming that it's Duggan. Anyway, I'm excited to find out more and how all that mythology stuff works together and what these crazy aliens are doing, because I never understand the UFO stuff in X-Files. Anyway, but I'm confused, and it's X-Files, so it's doing its job. And then. Ghostbusters number 16. This is Mass Hysteria Part 4. This is still hilarious, but where it's at or where it is in this issue is it's pretty much is a lot of retread of the first Ghostbusters film, and I think I was getting impatient with it. I was like, okay, so we're doing climbing up a staircase, and we're doing a lot of the tropes from that, and we're dealing with the same entities, or at least some of them, and then one of them, and then you get to the end of this, and it's like, oh, but wait, there's more. We thought we finished off the big bad guy, but oh wait, there's more. So I kind of like that. I was unsure about it, and then there's some subverting my expectations, so that's good. Crossing the Streams is back. I mean, like, they do everything. But I don't know. There's a big cool giant multi-headed serpent monster that they have to fight, and then what they're doing. And then I don't know what they've been doing with Louis Tully and stuff is good. I don't know if he's going to stick around though. Him and Dana Barrett. I'm kind of looking forward to see if they're actually going to stay in this, or if we just did them so that we could make it look really like the first movie. But still really funny, still good banter. I always like Burnham's writing. Okay, you had a graphic novel, yes?
I had another book from DC though, monthly.
Oh, you did? Okay, go ahead and do that then. I've only got one more thing, so go ahead.
Okay, it was Aquaman number 31, and the only reason I picked this up was because it's a tie-in to Swamp Thing, which I'm reading. And I love Aquaman, but I read some of the Jeff Johns one, and it was just, no pun intended, abysmal.
Whoa, really? I liked what I read of it, and Dan loved it, so that's interesting.
Well, I mean, everybody raved about the first issue, but like, it didn't make any sense in universe that people didn't like Aquaman. But anyway, yeah, I thought it was bad, and then they went through this whole arc with the others, and all these characters that I just don't care about or like, and then apparently that's a whole book now. But I've heard good things about the Jeff Parker run, so I've been kind of curious to check it out, and I liked his writing a lot in this issue. Mostly this is just Aquaman and Swamp Thing fight, because the guy who was Swamp Thing previously, I guess Jason Woodrue, the Floronic Man, was temporarily the Avatar of the Green, and he did all kinds of stuff all over the planet that was negative, and so Aquaman's peeved because I guess he caused all the algae in the ocean to overgrow, which doesn't make any sense at all because Swamp Thing controls plants and algae are protists. Protists were into the whole photosynthesis thing way before plants were. They're like the hipsters of photosynthesis.
That sounds like the best band name ever. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for the hipsters of photosynthesis.
Yes. Only their first album was good. So the science here was really, really off, which was kind of weird for an Aquaman comic, because like if you read Golden Age Aquaman, it was very kind of educational in a way. It's very good for kids, I think. But overall, I like the writing of this. There's a whole other side. It's funny because I was reading this and I was like, man, Swamp Thing's not really in this issue. And I'm like, oh yeah, this is an Aquaman tie-in. Because Queen Mira, I guess, is going around with some of the soldiers. And we learned some interesting things about the Atlanteans, that most of them, their lungs are so atrophied that they wouldn't be able to go on land and breathe the air. And I guess they're scouting around. I'm not entirely sure why, because I haven't been following this, so that was mostly over my head. But the Aquaman, the Swamp Thing stuff was pretty fun to see in that fight. Apparently round 2, as they called it, is going to be in the next issue of Swamp Thing, so I guess I'll just kind of continue on there and keep an eye on this book to maybe pick up and trade later.
I always think it's funny when they I was waiting to see that. So do it again. Do it again.
Okay, I'm done.
I just love that you threw that together real quick. And you use pencil, just like I like to use pencils because it's funny. Anyway,
cool.
So yeah,
We're Pencil Brothers.
Whatever. I always think it's funny when comics say like round 1, right? You know, like the only reason we read these things is for the fights. You know, like we're watching a fight or something. That always great. Oh man, can't wait for round 3. You know. It's going to be 3 pages because it's going to knock him out that fast.
There was those 2 episodes of Justice League Unlimited where they actually like brainwashed superheroes and made them fight and stuff. So I guess there's that.
Yeah, but they're not all going to be that way.
No.
I mean, I'm not saying that they all.
I actually like that idea, the whole meta brawl thing. It'd be cool to see that show up somewhere.
Anyway, my last book for the week is Serenity Leaves on the Wind, number 5, the penultimate issue of this miniseries. We're going to get one more. And I guess when I first started reading this, I thought it was a monthly, and I was a little bit bummed out to find out it was a mini because I want a whole season of this, just like with Buffy and Angel, because it's quite good and feels like mostly a good script for another movie or the first part of the season or something. I'm really enjoying this. I'm especially digging the stuff with the... what do they call him? The bad guy from Serenity, who is in this, and the operative. He's not an operative anymore, but we don't have another name for him. Anyway,
What do they call him?
He's just around. I guess you just have to know that that's who you're looking at. But anyway, so he's here. I don't think they call him anything other than the operative, but he's not an operative anymore, or at least we don't think that he is. He certainly doesn't seem to still be working for the Alliance. Anyway,
the guy formerly known as the operative.
Yeah, the artist formerly known as the operative. So anyway, he's working with Mal, and what's cool is he still has the same worldview sort of that he always had before, except he just doesn't believe in what he used to believe because something happened that, you know, he looked at it and went, oh, that's wrong. I don't believe that anymore. And so he's still a lot about like having honorable deaths and things like that, and that's the big thing that he cares about. He does this. I'm not gonna give away how, but he kills someone in this in like the most gruesome, creepy kind of way, and then says, "This was not a good death." And I was like, wow, that's both awesome and really disturbing all at the same time. That's the thing I will take away. There was a panel in this that just somebody's head gets sliced in a very certain way, and I will never get it out of my mind. I've never seen that. Anyway, and then my throat hurts thinking about it. So my sinus. Yeah, it's just like that. Why do you have to bring that up? Why do you have to? Why do you have to talk about Popsicle? No. Anyway, so then. Let's see. What else did I want to mention about this? So basically, the whole kind of idea going on here is Mal just wants to be able to mind his own business and have the Alliance mind theirs. That's what it's always been about. Except that because of things that happened in Serenity and stuff, now for the new rebellion, he's kind of this big idol and this huge figurehead, and so the Alliance is more after than they ever have been, and he just wants to be left alone. And so he's having to be involved in stuff because he's got to go find Zoe, who got kidnapped by the Alliance. But there's a really cool speech he has in here where he's just like, why can't we just leave each other alone? And since we can't do that, well, fine, then, you know, I'm going to give you the best fight I can give you. There's also this cool stuff about how the one thing the rebellion has that the Alliance doesn't, the big the big thing that helps them out the most is that they're disorganized, and so they have they have kind of surprise on their side because they don't all pull together the way the Alliance does, and when they lose that, they can't win. And I think that's kind of an interesting idea. So I don't know. I'm still really liking this. Looking forward to seeing where they go at the end of it, especially with river stuff, which I'm not even talking about right now. But yeah, I don't know. Good stuff. Okay, so what else did you have?
My last thing was an original graphic novel, Black Canary and Zatanna Bloodspell, which is written by Paul Dini, so you know it's good, and it's drawn by Joe Quinones, which means it looks good. This is a pretty cool team up between the two of them. They apparently met each other both when they were younger on Mount Everest. Zatanna, as part of her magical upbringing, had to fly up to the top, I guess, using magic, and Black Canary just decided to because it was there, like Sir Edmund Hillary said. I guess she was going through some stuff then. But we see Black Canary infiltrated some type of casino robbing group, and as a part of the group, she had to say some type of oath, which turned out it was some type of spell. And then that all comes back to bite her like a year later, because the woman who she found out betrayed the whole team, she died, and then she's like a ghost, and she's possessing all of the other people on the team and making them kill themselves. Now, despite that, it's way more happy-and-go-lucky than you would expect. From a book that's ghost possesses people and causes them to kill themselves. But the art is really bright and colorful. They obviously solve it at the end, but there's a great scene where it's like pillow talk between Black Canary and Green Arrow, and they're just so. Paul Dini has the perfect voice for all these characters, and it's just hilarious to see that relationship. There's a bit of a mentorship thing in here too between Black Canary and Zatanna, with Black Canary being a little bit older, and so that was kind of neat to see. I had never seen that before, so I liked that a lot. What else is there in here? I think this is cool that there's a whole team up that's based on the fact that these two characters wear fishnets.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
Yeah, I think that's really the only connection. They're two female superheroes who wear fishnets. But yeah, this is really, really good. I thought at first this was actually in the DC Animated Universe continuity, because everybody's costumes looked like that, and the Justice League Watchtower looked like that, and then like Hal Jordan shows up, and I'm like, wait, he wasn't in that. And then there's other things. There are flashbacks, and we see like Black Canary is wearing her like 1980s costume, which looks really silly. So it's obviously just its own thing. It's not in that continuity. It's definitely not in the New 52. It's just kind of its own standalone thing, and it's really, really good. I definitely recommend this.
Well, that is an off the beaten path kind of choice. Like that's cool. It sounded like, as you were talking about it, there was no way that was in continuity. Like,
yeah. It sounds too fun to be in the New 52.
I hate to agree with that, but yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. I didn't even hear about that. I'm definitely gonna have to pick that up. That's awesome.
Yeah, there are a lot of great references in here too, and just great dialogue. There's a reference to an episode of Batman the Animated Series, the Be a Clown one. Yeah. The Joker impersonates a clown, I think, and then that's like the image for some advertisement in Vegas for a clown. So some little things like that are cool.
That's awesome. Well, let's go on to Book of the Week, since we're both finished. And Alex, what would you say was your favorite book of the entire week?
I'm going to sort of disqualify the graphic novel on account of it being a graphic novel, but I'm going to have to choose Miss Marvel #4. This book I look forward to it every month, and it's not in the same week every month, it seems, so I'm always like, I wanted this book to come out, but it's just, if you're not reading this, read this. It's so good.
I'm going to go with Guardians, which I haven't picked in a really long time. This is Guardians 15. It just surprised me, which I have been wanting it to do for a while again, and it did. And then the end, I was like, oh man, what happens? And I can't tell you the last time that I actually could not wait to read this book next month, and I'm sort of there right now, so that's exciting. Okay, well, before we go into the opening the opening forum, the forum that opens everything. Before we go into the opening forum,
opening the forum.
We're opening the forum. Before we do that, though, I'd like to throw out a question to give away a digital code for a comic book. And the first question, I'll do a couple more as we go along here. And we're not going to have the open forum for very long because Alex and I've got to go do another show. But we'll do this for about 15 minutes or so. And anyway, send me your answers to this question, and you may win a digital code for Guardians 15 for my favorite book of the week. What race, as I talked about earlier, if you were paying attention, were you paying attention? What race captured Gamora? I talked about different races capturing people. Which one captured Gamora? If you can tell me, you'll get a copy of this. And hopefully it's not only people that already have this, because otherwise that's pointless. So if you're paying attention, you may know that. And anyway, we're going to go ahead and open up the open forum. We're going to open the open forum.
That's going to be tough.
Yeah, it is, because it's open already, and I'm going to open it more. I got to get a bigger key. So anyway, for the next 15 minutes, we're going to talk to you folks about whatever you'd like us to talk about. Send us questions about superheroes, about comic books, about the comic book industry at large right now, and you can send those as a personal message on Facebook, or you can send them as tweets on Twitter, @GeekFolution. Anyway, before we start answering questions, as I'm waiting for those to pour in, Alex, we're going to talk about First Class. We're going to talk about Days of Future Past a little bit later. We're going to post that tomorrow, and it's going to be, there's going to be a few of us doing a podcast, but really just super fast. Did you like the film?
No, I loved it.
Oh, really? Okay, cool. Well, so did I. All right, neat. So we'll have that to look forward to.
I feel like an expert on this movie now, because this is going to be like my third podcast on this
really?
film.
You've done multiple podcasts? Yeah, I know. I had to do this kind of late for me, so yeah.
Yeah, I got my own, and then I did one on Steve Baxey's channel too, if people want to check those out. And it's kind of interesting too in that I talked about it twice, and both conversations were very different and went in completely different directions. So I think that shows what a good film this is. That there's a lot to talk about. That's
hilarious. I didn't realize you and Steve did one.
Yeah, with Magpie as well.
Okay, so I'm just waiting to see if folks. Oh, you know what? I've been so busy, I have not been looking at news much lately, so maybe the open forum is pointless. But to Murmugo on Twitter, what do you think of Charlie Cox being cast as Matt Murdock for the Netflix series? I hadn't even heard about that. I would have to do some research because I don't know who that is, but apparently somebody got cast for the Netflix series. So
he's awesome. He was on Boardwalk Empire for a couple seasons, and just amazing. I think he's a perfect fit for the character.
Awesome. Cool. Well, glad to hear that. William Parcell, do you think it's possible that Mulder might actually be an early alien-human hybrid whose abilities never activated? Yes, sure. Anything's possible. It's X-Files. But no, I mean, given the crazy history of that character, I could totally see that happening. It would be very strange if in a comic book they revealed that a character that you saw for all those seasons was actually something other than you thought what it was. And I would feel bad for anybody who was a big X-Files fan and not reading the comics, which would mean probably most of them.
Yeah.
So yeah, that would be strange. It would make it feel more worth having if they made some kind of big addition to mythology like that. William Parcell, what's your opinion of Damian Wayne? He's my favorite Robin. He was Jason Todd done right. How do you feel about that, Alex?
I agree that he was Jason Todd done right, but I was never really a huge fan of Damian.
Yeah, I wasn't either. I can totally see why you would say that. I mean, because of the history of it, Jason Todd always struck me. And I mean, I know this isn't fair because it's not really the way the real life history went, but I mean, like just post Jason Todd actually being alive, he seemed to be kind of a plot point to make Batman go through some things that he wouldn't have otherwise gone through. So like, I never really cared about Jason Todd except as a catalyst for that stuff to happen. So yeah, I agree. I mean, Damian Wayne is a lot like him in a lot of ways, but handled differently. But yeah, I never cared for that character. I always thought he was way too much of a brat. There are places where I really like him. I mean, I can't throw any out right now, but there's going to be a couple of issues here and that I've read where I'm like, okay, well, this is how you could write that character and make him in character, but not make him irritating. So I don't know. I mean, when he first shows up in Morrison, I really don't like him. But
yeah, well, I don't think you're supposed to either. But
oh, you're not.
that's his whole arc. I guess my thing is I just view Robin as like a Batman protege training program, and that's why I like Tim Drake the best, because I feel like he could actually one day be as good of a Batman as Bruce was.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's what we were always being told. I can see why you say that, and maybe I didn't read nearly enough of the character to agree with that. But yeah, no, certainly that's what Morrison and other folks always wanted us to think. This is fascinating. This is a fascinating question. This is a glass half empty kind of question. At Mr. Goodhop on Twitter, if you had to cancel one of the current or upcoming comic book TV shows, which one would you cancel? Now, this is not to say that we necessarily would want any of them gone, but which one, if we had a gun to our head, you have to cancel one. Which one would you cancel? That's fascinating.
I'm gonna give kind of a cop-out answer and just say iZombie because I know nothing about that and I'm not into zombies. So
I forgot that was even a thing that was going to happen. That is a good cop-out answer. Yeah. But that hasn't gone to series yet, has it?
No, but it's one of those ones that's coming out, I think.
No, but I'm just saying, like, has it even been announced that it's definitely going to series, or that there's just a pilot?
Yeah, as far as I know.
Oh, really? Okay. Because all this other stuff, there's like a trailer already, and we know it's actually happening.
Yeah, it might be a little bit behind them, but.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I didn't know. Boy, I find that really hard because I'm excited about pretty much everything. I wouldn't want to see anything canceled. I finally liked Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. by the end of that season, so I don't want to see it gone. It finally seems like maybe it's going somewhere. And then I don't know. I'm like, God, that's really hard. It's like,
can I change my answer to Gotham? Because let the iZombie people have iZombie. I don't care. I'm not going to watch it anyway. But that show doesn't look good to me.
I don't know. I think it has really good potential. It's not what I would want necessarily, but there's a lot of characters that we've never gotten to see realized in live action that show's going to do, and I really want to see that. So.
I don't really have any interest in seeing villains before they're villains, because that just means they're sort of there before they're interesting.
I mean, that's fair. I can get why you're saying that. That's the fear. I think it could be done in a way that is not like that. I think that all those characters would have stories, potentially. But yes, no, I get that. No, it feels a lot of time when this is done, it feels like we're gonna give you almost what you want, and like the thing that's supposed to be fun about it is we're teasing you and not giving you really what you want, but you're kind of getting what you want. I don't know. Maybe people enjoy that. I don't enjoy that. But if the storytelling is good, then I can enjoy it as its own thing. So there's that.
That's fair. I think my issue is more, if they're able to fight the bad guys with any level of success, then that completely undermines the need for Batman in Gotham City. And I've heard things that have said that, it is actually going to be really bad, and that's kind of the whole, I guess, telos of the show is it's going to get to the point where it is so bad that they do need a Batman, but it seems awfully like soul-crushing for a comic book show to have it kind of be Jim Gordon constantly fails for like 5 years or however long the show is on.
Yeah, well, we'll see. I don't know. I'm still hearing things that really excite me about it. I'm hearing things like it's going to be out of time and like have a lot of elements of different time periods, which is what you want for a Batman show. That's kind of exciting to me. I'm excited about some of the casting. Some of that looks really good. I'm excited about Edward Nygma. I don't know. There's just stuff where like. It's not what I want, but it could be great. So I don't know. I wouldn't want to see that canceled either. I can't answer that question. That's an unanswerable question. I don't know. I mean, because Constantine looks good too. So let's see here. What else? Manos is being silly. Manos says, what other body part should Frankenstein sew to his body?
Wings, definitely. Antlers. Antlers. Everybody looks better with antlers.
Frankenstein, why do you have a giant bushy tail? Why do you have that? William Parcell again. Do you think it's better for a character to be killed off or continue and get no character development?
That's a good question, because I mean, if they just go on and they don't do anything with them, maybe some writer in the future will pick them up and do something with them. They'll say, hey, that guy or gal had potential, and maybe I can work with them. Then if you kill them off, then they're not there anymore, and you're not running into that problem. But you're also not running into the problem of, oh, we're going to bring them back, because that always annoys me.
In a perfect world, we would end things before we killed people. Like when we're talking comics, it's serialized storytelling where the whole point is you. And I mean, this is how it was done with superheroes in the 30s and 40s. The whole point is you create a character that has a status quo that you can constantly tell stories in, but they never change enough that you have to age them or allow them to die or change them in huge, giant, crazy like Wesley Wyndham-Pryce type ways. And when you get into the 60s and you start doing Marvel, it gets complicated because the whole point of that was to do superheroes, but for it to be more like the kind of character progression you get in real serious novels and things where there's a progression and we can do long-form storytelling, but those characters could not have been expected to exist forever because it doesn't make any sense if they're going to live real lives that constantly change. So the answer to that question is ultimately, in my mind, kind of impossible. It's a matter of what kind of stories are you telling. I think the easiest thing to do is to keep reinventing. You get characters to a place where you can't go any farther, and you reinvent them. Giant continuities make that really hard and sometimes next to impossible. So, I mean, really, when we're talking about the big two, there is no answer to that. Because you kill a character, somebody's going to want to bring them back eventually. I would say that with the status quo the way it is right now, just with the comics in general, I don't mean continuity, but comics in general, I would say that killing a character because you don't have any other place to go with them doesn't make sense, because somebody is going to have to contrive some way to bring them back. So I would say write them out for a while and then let somebody else, when they have an idea, come back in and bring them in and do something with them.
Yeah.
Let's answer one or two more things. I'm not seeing any answers to the trivia question. But I will go ahead and ask one more. I think I'm going to save the other one because I just forgot to ask questions earlier, and we're almost finished. So I'm gonna ask one more, and this is going to be for the Thanos Annual. In the what if version of Infinity Gauntlet, who slices off Thanos' gloved hand? That's the question. And if you know it and you want to send me an answer, you will get a copy of a digital copy of the Thanos Annual. If you know that and send it to me. So do it. Be quick, because nobody else is answering the other trivia question, and you have a good chance at getting a digital copy of the Thanos Annual. And if you like Jim Starlin, you should still do that. Anyway, let's answer one or two more things here. Okay, to Murmugo again. What is your favorite casting choice in the Marvel Cinematic Universe? Wow.
It's kind of hard to beat RDJ.
I think so too. But that's the obvious answer. Yeah.
Yeah. And maybe it's obvious for a reason, again. But I think Mark Ruffalo as the Hulk is pretty cool too.
I just feel like, well, I mean, I'm gonna also do the other cop out, which is Sam Jackson, because I think it's so much fun to cast a character based on the reason they were made to look the way they were in the first place. I think that's really fun. So you basically,
if they hadn't gone that route, it would have been really weird.
Yeah, because you basically cast him in the comics. Like he's just Sam Jackson in the comics. We're talking Ultimate, and then they got the actual guy. I think that's great. I think that's fantastic. No, I think the casting of Robert Downey Jr. has a huge percentage, maybe 30 to 40 to 50% of the reason that the Marvel Cinematic Universe was successful in the first place. I think that had so much to do with it. I mean, and you could argue, oh, but the story, yeah, but if you know anything about that movie, so much of that stuff was improvised on the spot. I think Downey had a lot to do with even the story and direction that film went. So I mean, like, you know, I think we can credit him for a lot of the success of the whole thing, which makes me think that he's kind of worth what they're paying him.
Yeah. Can I give sort of a future answer too and say Michael Douglas as Hank Pym?
That is a neat choice. I hope it turns out well. I haven't done any captain's logs this week because I've been so busy with other projects. I wanted to do one about the director change, Ant-Man, and maybe we should real quick mention that before we sign off and part here. But it's really, really sad that happened. Like Edgar Wright, that was his baby, man. Like I heard he was wanting to do that for 10 years. What happened? What kind of creative difference could he and Marvel have possibly had that kicked him off that made him leave that project? Wow, I just like that's really sad to me that happened.
Yeah, and I've heard some rumors that it was more just he was going really over budget and stuff. And that's kind of unfortunate because he's definitely someone who has a very, very unique directorial voice and just kind of visual style that I think still fits very well in the Marvel universe. So it's sad to see him leave, but hopefully the film isn't, you know, worse off for it, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's not to say that the whole thing is doomed. Marvel is you know, as a movie company now, they're a machine, and they've got it together. So, you know, I'm sure they'll find some way to pull it out in the end. Hopefully. But I hope that he wasn't micromanaged too much. I mean, that you know, because like I've been so happy with a lot of the stuff they've done that it's very easy to go. You know, Marvel's got it right. They know how to make movies, and it's not like they don't have problems here and there. It's just they compare.
Yeah, because this kind of thing has happened before with Iron Man 2 and Favreau, and with Thor 2, with the original director being off it, and then Alan Taylor not being happy. So yeah, it sounds like they do micromanage a lot.
There is some of that, and there's. I mean, maybe we just get lucky that some of their micromanaging they actually have good ideas. But like, you know, and I mean, like the guys at the top of that seem to be the right guys to be there. But you've got things like them forcing Whedon to kill off Coulson only to give him a TV show. And stuff like that, you know. And I mean, like, as much as I was finally kind of okay with sort of how they did that, obviously that wasn't the plan in the first place. So, like, to mandate you must kill this character off, and then give him a TV show 6 months later. It's really strange.
I think it's maybe problematic too that we hear, like, all the movies that we hear that about the most are, you know, are Iron Man 2 and Thor 2, and those are like some of their most weak outings in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yeah, that's right.
I remain optimistic about Ant-Man because, you know, I like the character and I think they have a great cast, and hopefully there's going to be, you know, something there that's worthwhile, because as they describe it as sort of a superhero heist movie, that sounds cool and unique. I'm just hoping it doesn't fall flat.
Yeah, and they're doing, you know, they're making stuff like that work. I mean, we've gotten now a superhero spy movie that was, you know, incredibly successful and worked. So yeah, do more stuff like that. But anyway, well, that's going to be it for us. There are some other really interesting questions that we just don't have time for. Keep them logged. Ask them next time. There's a couple here that I really like. So ask them these questions with us next week, because in 2 weeks we'll be back. Next week we're going to be out because I'm going to be out of town. But the week after that we'll come back, and we'll either double up or we'll just skip last week's books. It just depends on how much there is. And I didn't get any answers to the trivia questions, so those questions are still out there. If you know the answers, feel free to send them, and I will still get codes out. So the first one was, what race was captured? I'm sorry, what race? There's a whole race that got captured. What race captured Gamora in Guardians of the Galaxy number 15. If you remember the answer I gave it earlier, you'll get a copy of that comic of Guardians 15. And for the Thanos Annual, the question was, in the What If version of Infinity Gauntlet, who slices off Thanos' gloved hand? And we will be with you again in 2 weeks, and look forward tomorrow for a spoiler podcast, about an hour and a half or so, on X-Men Days of Future Past. And in the meantime, I'm Captain Logan.
And I'm Alex.
And thanks again for watching. Sure appreciate it.